And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Monday morning's graphic here with that system moving northward here across the eastern Bering Sea. It's going to throw a lot of moisture here across southern Alaska, especially here in the west, with quite an area of IFR here from the southwest coast right into toward the central interior. But just to the north, some VFR holding, at least early on tomorrow, for the Seward Peninsula into the Koyukuk Valley. Areas of IFR here across southern Alaska, south of the Alaska Range. North of the mountains, considerably better. Same thing up here over the North Slope and western Arctic coast, or areas of the Arctic coast. Looking at some IFR. IFR over the northern panhandle, VFR down to the south. And then that becomes more extensive. The IFR becomes more extensive here, especially over the central and northern areas in the afternoon. And a band of IFR along the North Gulf Coast there, in across south central Alaska, right up to the Alaska Range here. North of the mountains, VFR, northern Kuskokwim Valley, right up into the 40-mile country and northward, squeezing through the Brooks Range there to the Arctic coast. Otherwise, IFR here over the north and northwest interior, right on down into the northern Bering Sea. And marginal VFR from much of the Bering Sea out to the Aleutians, VFR for Nikolsky on Alaska, Dutch Harbor, Alaska Peninsula, some marginal VFR for Kodiak Island. And then that gives way to mostly VFR here for Kodiak. Still some marginal VFR possible there, but VFR westward all the way out toward Adak. IFR here with that system up there in the north with the moisture associated with it, bringing IFR from the Yukon Delta right on up into the northwest coast, southern slopes of the Brooks Range here eastward. And the northern areas there, pretty good. VFR on the east side, some IFR on the western Arctic coast. Still looking at a lot of moisture here with areas of IFR along the across southern Alaska into the Panhandle. And for the afternoon, that starts to improve a little bit here, but still, well, VFR for Cook Inlet down to Kodiak Island into Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula, and also north of the Alaska Range. Get up toward the Brooks Range, and a band of IFR there kind of hung up on the south side of the mountains that extend out to the northwest coast and into the Bering Strait. Otherwise, some VFR now for the North Slope and much of the Arctic coast, and mostly marginal for the southeast coast. And for passes for Anatuvik and Adigan from definitely IFR for the day tomorrow for the Brooks Range up there. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR as well, rainy IFR, windy, same forecast IFR, as well as Isabel. Go marginal VFR from Antasta, then back to IFR for Tanita and Portage, as well as Chilkoot and White. And for the freezing levels here, 2,000 feet, east side of Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, down across the Panhandle, and well south of the Aleutians out here to the west. So moving on to icing, band of moisture moving northward, carrying the considerable moderate rime icing zone here with it, with that'll extend from the Yukon Delta coast right up across Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, into Kotzebue, eastward there, almost into the Koyukuk Valley, and another area there for the Panhandle from about just west of Yakutat right on down to Dixon Entrance, also looking at considerable moderate rime icing. And the jet stream here, the main jet barely getting on the chart, the core of the jet, the Pacific jet here, 95 knots, just getting onto the picture there. Up to the north, southerlies to southwest, 50 to 55 knots over the central and eastern interior. Light winds at 33,000 feet out here over the Bering Sea, and the stronger jet there south of the western Aleutians. And for 9,000 feet, low pressure here into the Gulf of Alaska, northern Gulf of Alaska, and a trough here from just off the west coast right on down into the Bering Sea, so west turning south-southwest. 35 to 45 knots with that, a little stronger here, but just south of the west central Aleutians at 60 knots. And for 3,000 feet, low pressure right about in this location, coming northward there, starting to slow down a little bit, but that's going to put those strong southwesterlies, south-southwesterlies of 45 knots right in across the southwest coast here, even up to 40 knots there over the Selawik Valley, turning more east-southeast there, then northeast up to 50 to 55 knots for St. Lawrence Island. And for the southeast coast, Southwest, 40 knots here, that front pushing in toward that area, and then westerlies at 50 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And with those winds, we'll throw in some considerable moderate turbulence there from about Cordova to Yakutat right on down across the areas of the southeast coast. A little break to the west here, and then with the system out here over the Bering Sea and those increased winds, considerable moderate turbulence here. Lower Yukon Valley into the deltas there, Kuskokwim Mountains, as well as the western Alaska Peninsula out across the eastern Aleutians.